So after 30 days of tips, let's see the results. Have you ever bet on a tipster suggestion or wondered if they're actually profitable, and do they bet on their own tips? For context, Andy Holding is one of the biggest names in horse racing tips. Featured on OddsChecker and William Hill Radio, he describes himself as a full-time gambler that focuses on speed figures and ratings. He's even got a subscription website dedicated to them. But can you really make money by timing horses and rating their speed? Will it help you find the winner? I'm genuinely curious, so this video documents 30-day journey of Andy Holding's OddsChecker tips. The goal, to record all of the betting tips, track the overall strike rate, prices and financial returns to clearly show how much money you could have made or lost. Is he making fortunes betting on horses, or is it just hot air and horse racing wallpaper? Let's find out. Recording the correct results and pricing was crucial because I wanted to stress test these betting tips against the industry starting price, betting exchange starting price and fixed prices that Andy advised in the morning. Plus, I wanted to check if you could actually get these prices that he was advising. For those of you that are unaware, lots of tipsters out there quote bigger prices than are actually available in order to enhance their tipping record. It's the oldest trick in the book. Having checked all of Andy Holding's tips thoroughly, I can confirm that these prices on these tips were available at the time OddsChecker published them each day. And they weren't backdating the published time on the tipping page either, which already puts Andy well ahead of the pack. Now I've got to be honest here, it wasn't what I was expecting, and neither were the results. Day one. So I cracked out Excel and started recording the tips each morning, methodically checking the selections and the available prices. The following morning I checked the results from the previous day, industry starting price and Betfair SP on Timeform, before recording the next day's tip. Getting all of this data was really important because the prices vary quite a lot, yielding totally different returns over the space of a month, as you're about to see. Plus, modern bookmakers won't take a bet from accounts that consistently beat the closing line. So I wanted to make it a fair record for winning punters that have nowhere else to go but exchanges. To clarify, industry starting price, or ISP, represents the official bookmaker price at the start of a race. Betfair starting price, or BSP as it's known, is the betting exchange equivalent. It was a bit of a slow start for Andy with 5 winners from 30 odd selections in the first week, but fortunately a couple of big price winners kept the results green. Now I should mention that Andy marks some of these bets as his NAP, which is short for Napoleon, a phrase originating in France that means your best hand. I kept an additional record of these best bets so we could clearly see if they performed better on their own. All non-runners and anti-post bets were removed from the month's tips to ensure the record was accurate. Firstly, the 12th had the most tips with 7 losers in one day, pulling results backward before a surge of 9 winners from 22 tips in just 6 days, the biggest winner being 14-1. Now results were looking good and recording all of the numbers was going nicely, and then disaster hit. On day 28, the sportsbook I was using requested additional documentation. I was quite surprised by this because bets were only £1 stakes and I hadn't attempted to deposit or withdraw any funds. Surely I couldn't have been flagged as a problem gambler spending beyond my means or a criminal attempting to launder money. I was only staking £1 at a time, and most days I never even staked any more than a £5 in total. Maybe they were scared that the combination of Andy's tipping and my staking might put them out of business. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure I know what the real reason was, which will make more sense when we come to analyse the results, but for this experiment it presented a big problem. Even if I had the documents handy, there's no way that the verification process would be completed before the next day, so I had to quickly change tack and source another account. The final 2 days weren't so good, with 1 winner from 5 tips. So let's get stuck into the numbers and analyse what happened here and why. Over the space of 30 days, there are 114 betting tips released around 8:30 AM every morning. Each tip had an advised price and suggested amount of points to bet on it. Some were each way bets, and sportsbooks only take very small bets at that time of day, so I've recorded several different variations of the results. 25 of those 114 selections were outright winners, giving an overall strike rate of 21.92%. Andy's tips included 16 naps, with 5 of them winning, a strike rate of 31.25% for his best bets on their own. Now, the advised prices on all of these bets, highlighted in red, beat the industry starting price and exchange starting price, which means 2 things. First, These tips were great value picks from Andy that were bound to yield a profit over the longer term. But second, they would have certainly got your betting account flagged for restriction, or at least reviewed by the bookmaker's trading department, especially with the bets being placed before 11 AM in the morning. I believe this is why the account that I was using randomly got asked for additional documentation at day 28, shortly after Andy had had that big price winning streak. If you were to have taken the advised prices at level stakes, this would have meant a profit of 38 points. If you back them at the bookmaker's industry starting price, you'd have only seen a profit of 12.41 points, and if you'd bet on them at the exchange starting price, you'd have a profit of 35.79 points. Notably, the betting exchange prices returned almost 3 times more value than the bookmakers on these tips, and they wouldn't ban or restrict your betting account for doing it either. But this doesn't account for the each way bets or the point staking system advised. Tracking the results, including them, would have yielded a 59.75 point profit over 114 tips, staking a total of 157 points, which is a pretty impressive result if it wasn't for a couple of minor factors which I'll explain in just a second. However, the results for Andy's naps weren't so good, finishing as an overall loss to level and advised stakes, which is a little confusing when you consider they were supposed to be the best bets. Nearly all of the naps where he suggested staking heavier were priced at 3 to 1 or under. So in conclusion, I don't want to take away from Andy's success here, but considering the margin profit at BSP, it looks like variance fell on his side for this month. Mathematically, the return on the bets at the exchange starting price should be very close to zero. I couldn't easily find a complete record of his tips over a larger sample, so it's hard to compare them, although one thing's for sure, and Andy deserves credit for it, the advised prices during the month were of value. It's just a shame that they were posted at a time where the bookies won't consistently take a bet, and the bookies he suggested that you bet with would restrict the account for taking value. To Andy, I suspect none of this really matters though, as he's got OddsChecker, William Hill Radio and his subscription site to fall back on. Now, if you want to see how and why I've been banned from sports betting, then you want to see this video here where I reveal all with a logical explanation. You must beat the closing line over the longer term if you want to make money betting. But be warned, sportsbooks will limit your stakes for doing it. Check it out now.